My mother took the place card from my hand and said, "The family table is full. You understand support roles, Sarah. You'll be more comfortable with the staff." 20 minutes later, Major General Renee Alvarez stopped beside that table, looked at my uniform, and asked, "Lieutenant Colonel Mitchell, why aren't you on stage?" Then she turned toward my parents. She led the Harborline evacuation. Your son's software was one tool in her operation. My father went silent. The real betrayal was not the seat. It was the email my parents had sent in my name saying I refused the stage. My name is Lieutenant Colonel Sarah Mitchell. I was 39 that night, an Army Mobility and Sustainment Officer, and the State Resilience Leadership Gala was honoring the response to the Harborline flood. My parents' foundation sponsored the event. My younger brother Evan was receiving the Innovation Medal for the emergency routing platform his company had supplied during the evacuation. Evan deserved recognition for his software. That was never the problem. The problem was that our parents could not celebrate his contribution without editing mine out of the story. The Mitchell Civic Foundation had begun as my father's retirement project. Frank Mitchell had spent 30 years building commercial warehouses and loved anything that carried his name in brass letters. My mother, Patricia, handled the foundation's events. She could seat 200 guests, settle a donor dispute, and rewrite an uncomfortable family history before dessert. Evan fit naturally into that world. He was 35, polished, local, and the founder of Atlas Response Technologies. He could turn a complicated operation into 3 slides and a sentence investors remembered. I worked in the opposite direction. My job was to see all the things a polished slide left out: drivers, fuel, road capacity, oxygen, weather, medical priority, communications, and the point where one delayed bus became 12. My parents called that support. When Evan demonstrated software, Dad called him a strategist. When I coordinated real movement, Dad said I was good at details. 6 weeks before the gala, Mom called and said Evan's award would finally put the family's emergency work on the map. I congratulated him and asked whether the command had received the event schedule. She said the military delegation was being handled through the keynote office and that I should simply attend as family. 2 days later, Dr. Helen Park, the Gala board chair, sent a short message, looking forward to recognizing the Harborline leadership team. I assumed she meant everyone involved. I replied that I would attend. She sent a thumbs up and said my family had already confirmed the seating arrangements. That should have sounded strange. Instead, I believed my parents had finally included me without needing to be pushed. A week before the event, Mom asked me not to wear a formal military uniform. Evan's award is civilian, she said. A uniform will make guests think the Army is endorsing his company. That concern was reasonable. Her solution was not. I told her the commanding general's office had designated formal service attire for the military delegation. I would follow that instruction, with branch-neutral insignia appropriate to our fictional setting. Mom sighed. "Then please don't sit where every camera can find you." I asked where my seat was. "Family table," she said. The morning of the gala, Command Sergeant Major Leah Ortiz called to confirm the arrival time. Leah had been my senior enlisted advisor during Harborline, and had spent the previous month helping the state turn our emergency procedures into a training guide. She asked whether I had reviewed the stage sequence. I said, "I'm not part of it." There was a pause. Then she said, "Understood," in the careful tone professionals use when they understand nothing and know not to discuss it on an unsecured phone. At the Grand Marlowe Hotel, my parents were greeting donors beneath a wall-sized photograph of Evan beside a digital map. The caption was too small to read from the entrance, but his company logo was the largest thing in the room. Dad hugged me with one arm and looked over my shoulder for cameras. Mom studied my jacket. "At least it's tasteful," she said. A volunteer led me toward the front. The family table was directly below the stage, with place cards for my parents, Evan, 2 donors, and Evan's chief operating officer. There was no card for me. Mom appeared beside us, removed the blank card the volunteer was holding, and said, "We had a last-minute change." She pointed to a narrow table against the side wall where event coordinators, drivers, and hotel staff were eating before the program began. "The family table is full," she said. "You understand support roles, Sarah. You'll be more comfortable with the staff." The volunteer looked horrified. I told her it was fine because humiliating her would not correct my mother. I sat beside Miguel, the transportation coordinator, and 2 foundation assistants. Miguel had worked Harborline and recognized me immediately. "Mom," he said quietly, "I thought you were presenting the operations segment." So did someone else, apparently. Across the ballroom, Evan saw where I was seated. He started toward me, but Dad stopped him and pointed to a group of investors. Evan hesitated, then turned away. That choice hurt more than the table. The printed program listed the evening's sequence. After the keynote came Harborline, Technology That Moved a City, presented by Evan Mitchell. My name appeared once, in a paragraph thanking military support personnel. Harborline had not been a citywide technology demonstration. It had been a medical evacuation conducted during a communications failure. 11 months earlier, a stalled tropical system dropped 2 days of rain over the Harborline district. Floodwater entered the substation, serving 2 hospitals, 6 assisted living facilities, and the county oxygen depot. The state requested military transportation and logistics support before dawn. I was assigned to lead the joint movement cell coordinating civilian agencies, guard transport, medical crews, fuel vendors, and route control. Atlas Response Technologies supplied the dashboard that combined facility requests, vehicle locations, and road closures. Evan's team worked hard, and during the first 6 hours the system gave us a useful common picture. Then the cell network began failing. Vehicle locations froze. Facility requests duplicated. One nursing home appeared to have 60 empty beds and 80 patients waiting at the same time. Evan's engineers tried to restore the data feed. I told them to keep working, then moved the operation to the offline plan we had prepared in case the dashboard failed. We divided the district into 4 movement zones. Every bus received a paper route card, a fuel window, a medical priority, and a radio call sign. Leah Ortiz built a manual status board using magnetic strips and grease pencils. Miguel assigned drivers in pairs so nobody entered a flooded zone without a second vehicle tracking them. At noon, the county wanted every available bus sent to Harborline General Hospital. The hospital had the largest patient count, so the request sounded logical. But the oxygen depot was losing backup power. If we emptied the bus pool into one hospital, 3 assisted living facilities would run out of portable oxygen before those vehicles returned. I capped the hospital convoy, diverted 12 buses to the smaller facilities, and moved the oxygen trucks to a rail yard loading platform above the floodline. The decision angered the hospital administrator and 2 elected officials. It also kept every facility moving. By evening, floodwater closed the main fuel terminal. Atlas's dashboard came back online for short intervals, but the live map no longer matched the roads drivers were seeing. We used agricultural fuel contracts, school bus depots, and a maintenance garage to keep the evacuation running. Over 19 hours, the joint team moved 1,146 patients and residents, plus more than 300 medical staff and caregivers. No bus was lost, no facility ran out of oxygen, no patient disappeared between manifests. So had drivers, nurses, radio operators, mechanics, county staff, Leah, Miguel, and dozens of people whose names would never appear on a stage. I had never asked to own Harborline. I only refused to let my family turn a joint operation into a commercial origin story. Back in the ballroom, the lights dimmed for the opening video. Evan appeared on screen, describing how Atlas technology kept every patient visible from request to arrival. That statement was true for part of the operation, and false for the hours that mattered most. Dad's recorded voice said, "When systems fail, vision is what keeps people moving." The video showed Evan standing before the digital dashboard. It did not show Leah's manual board, Miguel's route cards, or the 18 hours the dashboard displayed incomplete information. Guests applauded. My parents looked toward Evan as if Harborline had begun in his office. Then the commanding general entered. Major General René Alvarez commanded the regional support formation that had provided military resources during the flood. She was not theatrical. She was known for reading every after-action report and remembering the names of people who solved unglamorous problems. She greeted my parents, the board, and Evan near the stage. Then she scanned the military delegation seated at the front right table. Her eyes moved once across the room and stopped on me beside the staff coffee station. She stepped away from the reception line. Leah rose before the general reached us. I stood too. General Alvarez looked at my place card, then at the stage program in Leah's hand. "Lieutenant Colonel Mitchell," she said, loud enough for the nearest tables to hear. "Why aren't you on stage?" I answered, "Ma'am, I was assigned this seat by the hosts." She looked toward my parents. Dad began walking over. "General, tonight is focused on civilian innovation. Sarah preferred to support from the floor." The general turned back to me. "Did you prefer that?" "No, ma'am." She faced Dr. Park. "Helen, where is the Joint Operations Chair?" Dr. Park opened her event folder. Her expression changed. It was removed after the Mitchell Foundation confirmed Lieutenant Colonel Mitchell had declined, she said. I looked at my mother. Mom said, "We understood Sarah did not want attention." General Alvarez's voice stayed calm. I read the after-action report. Lieutenant Colonel Mitchell led the movement cell. Captain Ortiz maintained the manual operating picture. Atlas supplied one of several tools. Leah corrected gently, "Command Sergeant Major now, ma'am." The general gave her a brief smile. Another correction this program missed. A few guests shifted in their seats. Evan had reached us and was staring at the floor. General Alvarez said, "Add 2 chairs to the stage." Dad tried to intervene. "The program is already running." So was the evacuation when the network failed, the general said. They adapted. The event coordinator moved immediately. As Leah and I followed the general toward the stage, Mom caught my wrist. "Do not punish your brother because of a seating mistake," she whispered. I looked at her hand until she released me. This was not a seating mistake. On stage, General Alvarez did not embarrass Evan. She asked him to describe what Atlas had contributed. He explained the dashboard, the facility feed, and the work his engineers had done to restore service. Then she asked me what happened when the network failed. I described the 4 zones: paper route cards, oxygen priorities, fuel windows, and manual accountability board. She asked Leah how many people were moved. 1,146 patients and residents, Leah said, plus 312 staff and caregivers, every person accounted for. The room changed. Guests stopped looking at Harborline as a software success and began seeing a system of people and decisions. General Alvarez said, "Innovation deserves recognition. So does command judgment. Neither should erase the other." Dr. Park stepped to the microphone. She said the board's original plan had included a joint leadership recognition for Evan, me, Leah, Miguel, and the civilian medical coordinators. The foundation had requested a shorter presentation centered on one recipient. Dad said from the front table, "We were simplifying the program." Dr. Park answered, "You simplified the people out of it." She then opened an email thread on her tablet and asked me to meet her backstage after the segment. Evan received the Innovation Medal, but the citation was corrected before it was read. It recognized Atlas for the digital platform's contribution during the first phase of Harborline, not for directing the full evacuation. The board presented the Joint Leadership Plaque to the complete group. It was a fictional civic award with no official military emblem. When the photographer arranged us, Dad stood and adjusted his jacket. Mom gathered her dress and moved toward the stage steps. I asked Miguel and the county nursing coordinator to stand beside me instead. Mom stopped. "Sarah, this is the Mitchell Foundation's event." I said, "Then stand with the foundation. This photograph is for the operation." The camera flashed. Backstage, Dr. Park showed me the email thread. Her first message, sent 7 weeks earlier, invited me to join the stage panel and accept the joint recognition. Mom had replied from her foundation account. Sarah has asked not to appear publicly. She is most comfortable supporting the event staff. The sentence sounded exactly like the one she had used at the table. Dr. Park's next message asked whether she should confirm directly with me. Dad replied, "No need. We have discussed it as a family." They had not misunderstood my preference. They had invented it, documented it, and used it to redesign the event. The thread also contained an edited draft of the program. The original language called Harborline, a joint civilian-military evacuation led by the movement cell. Dad's revision changed it to a technology-led response powered by Atlas. Evan stood in the doorway while I read. He said he had seen the revised program. I asked whether he knew my panel seat had been removed. He nodded. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because the award was bringing in a state contract," he said. Dad said one clear story would help everyone. Everyone except the people removed from it. He did not argue. My parents entered together. Dad said the email language had been necessary because I was unpredictable about public attention. I reminded him that I gave briefings for a living. Mom said family events were different. When you are visible, people compare you to Evan. There it was. Not concern about endorsements, not seating limits, comparison. They had put me at the staff table because they wanted my work near enough to support the family story, but far enough away not to challenge it. I told Dr. Park the correction I required. The foundation would replace the event video, program archive, press release, and award description. Every version would state that Harborline was a joint operation, Atlas was one technical contributor, and I led the movement cell. Dad said, "You want the foundation to publish that we manipulated the event? I want the foundation to publish what happened." Dr. Park added that the board would conduct its own governance review because a sponsor had altered recipient communications. Evan offered to withdraw from the state contract process until Atlas submitted an accurate operational case study. It did not erase his silence, but it was the first consequence he accepted without asking me to soften it. I left the hotel with Leah and Miguel. The staff table was nearly empty. On my place setting, the volunteer had left the original blank card she had been told to remove. I kept it. The next morning, my parents sent a family message describing the incident as an unfortunate program mix-up. I replied with the 2 emails and 1 sentence. A mix-up does not use my name in a decision I never made. Dr. Park suspended the foundation's control over the next gala. The board retained the sponsorship money but moved program approval and honorary communication to an independent committee. The corrected event video went online 5 days later. It included Evan's platform, Leah's manual board, Miguel's route cards, the oxygen transfer, and the full joint team. Evan recorded a new introduction himself. He said, "Atlas helped build the picture. Lieutenant Colonel Mitchell and the movement cell turned that picture into action." My parents' written correction came later. Their first draft said they had spoken too broadly on Sarah's behalf. I sent it back. Their second draft said, "We falsely told the gala board that Sarah declined the stage. We changed the program to center Evan and protect the foundation's preferred story. That was wrong." I accepted the correction, not as forgiveness, but as the minimum price of future contact. 3 months later, the state held a Harborline training workshop. The front row included hospital planners, drivers, county officials, engineers, and software teams. General Alvarez opened the session, then handed the microphone to me. My parents attended from the audience. Evan sat with his engineers, not at a family table. I taught the part of Harborline that had mattered most. Every sophisticated system needs a manual fallback, and every leader needs the humility to know when the picture is incomplete. Afterward, Dad approached the stage and asked whether he could join the group photograph. I said, "Not this one." He nodded. The photograph shows Leah, Miguel, Dr. Park, Evan, the medical coordinators, General Alvarez, and me. My parents are in the audience behind the camera. The blank staff table card now sits beside that photograph. My parents put me with the staff because they believed support work could be used without being seen. The commanding general asked why I was not on stage, because she understood something they did not. Leadership is often the person keeping the whole room moving, while someone else receives the light. Would you have taken the stage or left the gala after seeing where your parents seated you? Tell me your city and your answer below. Subscribe to Velvet Revenge Stories for more stories of family betrayal, quiet strength, and consequences.